All right, everyone. We are back today with another student interview. Today, I am joined by Jasmine. Jasmine, I'd love it if you could just introduce yourself to the viewers or the listeners here, and let them know who you are, maybe where you're from, what your background is in. Just give us a little context on you as a person.
Okay, no problem. Yes, my name is Jasmine, and I am I'm originally from Illinois, but I moved to Dallas once I got out of the military. I was in the military for 4 years and I got out it was June 2023. And since then I was like, I don't after being in the military, I'm like, I do not want to work for anyone. So I just, started investing in businesses and tried to see what worked better for me. A lot of them failed, some didn't. Well, most failed. I think one or two didn't, but yeah, other than that, I just, started investing in businesses and trying to see what I could do in order to be financially free where I didn't have to be, I guess, swallowed up by the corporate world.
Absolutely. So you said, investing in businesses. I guess we've been just about a year now since that started. So could you kind of walk me through at least a topical overview of that timeline? What different businesses did we try? At what point? How long did we stick with them? What was the results? Just because I'm personally curious, and I'm sure the viewer is as well.
Okay, so originally, of course, I'm a female, so I tried, doing boutiques. This was actually before I got out the military. I want to say it was 2022. And I decided to do a boutique, and that's when I actually got my LLC and everything. So I tried to do that, but all of the inventory and having to deal with talking to people overseas and then maybe not having a lot of support with friends and stuff like that. So it was a little harder to get it off the ground. So that ended quickly. Then I tried doing nails. I wasn't a fan of it. I couldn't get it right. Even though I seen how much, people were making, I was like, maybe I could try to do it and learn, and it didn't pan out. I also tried doing Amazon. Basically, going in stores, scanning products, and it was just a very long process. Like you had to get ungated for everything you tried to sell, and then the profit margins were really low. So if you bought something for $30, Amazon you'll probably get that 30 back. And let's say Amazon sells it for 60, you'll Amazon basically you'll probably only get $2 or $3 back from what you bought. And you're in stores for like hours at a time. And one day's worth might only be $20 profit or something like that. So I was like, yeah, this is just slow and it won't work. And again, you dealing with if you wanted to buy something overseas, which is private label, you will have to do that too. And it's a lot of money and then you don't get what you should get back. So
Yeah.
after all of those, I would say, yeah, I've tried about probably 3 to 4 investments and it never stuck or it just wasn't worth it, I felt.
So then you make the jump and kind of everything that you said, I feel like runs a kind of similar vein. I guess the e-commerce side of things is slightly different. But
Hmm.
you know what? I kind of take that back. I guess all of those were in slightly different respective areas. You have like a personal care services business, you have an e-commerce business, you have a boutique
Yeah.
or type of business. Those are all pretty different. But I would say that a remote cleaning business seems to be the most different out of all of them, at least in my opinion. I'm wondering, curious, how did you stumble across this business model? Was it actually like a piece of our content? Were you already on the lookout for content in this niche? Like, how did that kind of come? How did remote cleaning stumble upon you, or you stumble upon it?
Yeah, so I want to say, because I forgot, I also did look into Airbnb as well, but I never, that was one thing I did invest in or really get into. Before when I started to kind of get into it, I did like cleaning because I've seen, stuff on social media say, oh, you could start, cleaning for Airbnb yourself and just see how the Airbnb thing worked. But I never got into it because I never understood it or where to go or how to go about it. And then I was actually just scrolling on TikTok. It was like I don't know, it was like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and I see one of your videos when you were doing like the interview
Yep,
in
yep.
Miami, I believe. And then it was curious. I was just like, he got his, said he got his investment back, just in a short amount of time. And compared to other investments I did, you get it in like 9 months or a year or a very long time.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was just looking and I was like, okay, this seems pretty. And I was going to do it. I was like, it seems pretty interesting. It's like you're the middleman. I never heard of drop servicing at all
Yeah.
before, looking at the video. And I was like, oh, okay, I've heard of this and I've heard of that. And interviewing or finding cleaners, I think that'll be pretty easy. So yeah, I just went to the page, watched a couple videos, and I'm like, okay, I could do this. And I'm positive I could invest into it just to see where it takes me.
It's crazy. I love hearing people that came into the academy like through my content specifically, especially people
Hmm.
that have as much success as you're having, because I mean, we'll get into this in a little bit, but it certainly seems like, your initial investment will be covered here very shortly. So it's just it's super exciting. I'm glad you obviously took that leap, and I think it's a very similar way that a lot of people who find themselves in DSA come through. They see content, they hear about the business model, they're like, I understand this. I understand how this works. I understand why this would be valuable, and I could do this. And it
Yeah.
really isn't a very difficult business model to run. And we'll talk about this more here as we jump into it. But definitely, it's very cool. Very nice to hear that you came in, particularly through my content. I always love to hear
Yeah.
that. So, yeah,
Feel
that's
like it's
great.
getting somewhere.
Yes. Yeah. So I wanted to first let's jump into, where are you running your cleaning business out of? Obviously we've kind of talked about the little bit of experience that you have first being in the military and then some different startups that you had kind of tried. Um, I'm curious to hear, where are you starting this business out of? How long have you been doing it? And then what have your numbers looked like thus far? And I'd like to hear, how long has it been since you joined DSA and like started the model versus how long has it been since you've actually like been live, ads running, cleaners hired type of time?
Okay, yes. So I run out of my apartment in Richardson, Texas. And I basically, yeah, just do everything from there. Or if I'm out of town, like I just had a recent booking and I was able to close it out of town. So, but mainly at home, in Dallas, of course. I started DSA, on June 6th. And I was up and running. Yeah. I was up and running on 10th. And
You were up and running, sorry,
so
on what day?
on June 10th.
Okay,
Yeah.
keep going.
I basically had my EIN and everything basically done from my boutique business. So that wasn't anything that I had to wait on. It surprisingly only took me 4 days to get approved with everything. I know most people said it took them 3 months, 4 weeks, 3 weeks, but it literally just took me four. I think the only thing I wasn't approved on was Google LSA ads, but it didn't take long after that. I want to say I was approved probably on June 12th. So, or June 15th, somewhere around there. Um, but yeah, June 10th was when I had like my first, and I actually scheduled my first booking before June 10th. I was kind of like jumping ahead, but I did schedule because I did all of my interviews and all that. Like literally as soon as I paid my money, to get into the course and learn, I started like that night. Started that night. And so far, I've been doing it for like what 21 days and I've made $19,000 in revenue with about probably like a 60% net profit. or net income. So it's been pretty
Oh my
it's
goodness.
yeah.
That is just it's ridiculous. I mean, that is you're looking at you have made in profit like $12,000 in 3 weeks.
Yes.
3 weeks from the day that you joined, 17
Yeah.
days from being live. I mean, that is absolutely just mind blowing to me. Like, I had a lot of success, a lot, but nothing compared to that. I mean, it took me, I think it took me 4 months to get my first 20K month. And you're going
hmm
to have a 20K month this month, and you didn't even have a full month. You're
Yeah, June 6th, I mean July 6th will be my official first month. So
That's just insane. I mean, obviously having the expedited startup timeline was super helpful, but
hmm
I mean, even if we just go from when you started up, like even if we just take June 10th, regardless
yeah.
of how long it took you to get live, just from June 10th, 17 days, you are doing over $1,000 a day right now with this
hmm
business model, which is insane. Now, I know that a big chunk of this came from a huge contract, a huge clean you were just able to secure. I want to talk
Yes.
more about that, the details of it. How did it come to you, or how did you find it? How did you, what type of conversations were had about it? Walk me through the process of that.
Yeah, so it was actually crazy on how I got it. Um, I forgot to turn off my leads that night. And I was literally coming from a night out and it was like 3 a.m. So yeah. So I did call her at 3 a.m. because I was like, it's early. I was like, I don't want to be slurring my words or none of that. So I called her like the next morning and she didn't answer, but I did send her a text message. I'm like, hey, this is Jasmine from, my business. And she was like, yeah. And she didn't even respond that day. She responded like 3 or 4 days later. And she was like, yeah, I need a cleaning for a 6 bed, 5 bath. And I just asked her how many square foot was it. She was like 6,000. So I thought that was it. And she was like, yeah, I need the quote for 10 properties. And I was like, I was like, oh, 10. I was like, yeah, I have to do a walkthrough because I originally gave her like a lower price, but I'm like, I have to get the square foot. And yeah, it ended up being a $13,000 contract. So we got that contract signed actually last night. So yeah, that was probably the biggest, chunk of the money I did get. But I want to say within 9 days, I was at $6,000.
Yeah,
And yeah, $5,000. And then yeah, I got hers and then had a couple of small ones in between. But yeah, she contacted me through Thumbtack and it was yeah, that's probably the second like property manager to contact me through there. So that's kind of what yeah, those come from was
that's
property
just
managers.
that's crazy. I mean, I've been doing this for 7 months, and I've never had a contract that big. I've done multiple $1,000 jobs, but I mean, a five
hmm
figure job is crazy. Uh,
Yeah.
that's like beyond exciting. I'm also gonna be it's gonna be awesome to see where you fall on the leaderboard this month after literally coming like out of nowhere. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people, they're like off the leaderboard for a couple months and maybe they sneak on in like the honorable mentions or like the 10th spot, and then they sneak their way up and up and up, and you're gonna just like jump right on it like number
Jump right
five
up.
or something like that on your first month, which is crazy. Um, so yeah, that is like super exciting. You said that lead came through Thumbtack.
hmm It came
Wow.
through Thumbtack.
Okay, so tell me about your hiring and your cleaner situation. So, um, how many cleaners do you have? Are you going to have to add more cleaners just to fulfill this job? What does
Um,
that look like?
so I have 3 cleaners. I actually, because I originally had two, and then I actually hired two more. Um, from the get one probably I'm still kind of working with her. She might not stay. But I kind of expanded my area a little bit so that my cleaners on one side of Dallas don't have to travel to the other side. So that's what I'll be starting June 6th, or July 6th, basically finding more cleaners for that area. But I don't think I'll have to hire more for that job because I usually do three because I also had another it was yeah, it was a post-construction cleanup. I think it was like a $1,500 job. So I usually have three people kind of clean that house. So I think three should be good because it's only 10 houses for 10 days. So I'll just make sure, I always try to make sure, they're available and be like, hey, there's a big cleaning this day. Just make sure your schedule's clear and ask them if they can take it.
Yeah. So, and also just hearing that extra $1,500 post construction. So you're saying in your first 3 weeks you have booked essentially two cleans worth $15,000 combined.
Hmm.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
even just if you had the $4,000 of revenue in your first 3 weeks, that would
Hmm.
be impressive. And then you have 15,000 more on top of that from just two services, which is crazy. So the cleaner situation in terms of where you source these cleaner from, were you doing job board method? Were you using the referral based method? How was that hiring process like? Was that difficult? Was that streamlined?
It wasn't really so I used Facebook and kind of like it was Facebook and another app, but it wasn't too hard. I tried to do Indeed, but I've been having issues kind of getting approved with the Indeed and still trying to work on that with not having a physical, location, but still working on that. But yeah, I just basically, texted and joined Facebook groups, cleaning groups, and was like, hey, um, you know, anyone looking for a job, it pays this, pays that, and set up an interview process. And then from there, everything's been good. But from that way, it's been pretty good. Only thing is for those cleaning groups, some are very experienced, so it may be a little harder to kind of get, you know, ones with that good experience only because, they like, hey, I know my worth, this, and that. But then if you kind of speak to them and be like, hey, I'm doing, most of the work and you don't have to do any, extra stuff because technically you have to fight for bookings. So you're commenting against 10, 15 other people, and I could literally land a cleaning right in your hand.
Yeah.
So that's kind of worked for a lot of people. But yeah, I would say it's very good. Finding cleaners is pretty easy. A lot of people are independent contractors and wants to clean, so it's not too hard to find cleaners.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I have had a similar success with cleaners. I haven't found it to be super difficult to hire, but I know that is a common problem. Um, and I think obviously using the referral methods that we taught you and how, how best to onboard and how to steer conversations with these type of people. A lot of people rush into those conversations and they're like, hey, I want you to clean for me for $25 an hour or for $30 an hour or for 50% of the job. And cleaners are going to immediately be turned off by that if you can't back up that claim, like
Hmm.
you said, of this is the value that I bring to the table. This is why it's not as simple as like, oh, I just find the job and then I take half from you. Like it's not that simple. And you're also bearing
Yeah.
financial risk of paying for leads. You're also
Hmm.
bearing, the financial risk of starting up the company altogether. So yeah, there's a lot more that goes into it than most people will address.
Yeah, that is kind of true. I also like kind of add incentives like if you work more than 20 hours, I'll buy you lunch on Friday. Or if you work over 40, it'll be lunch too, but it might be like a voucher for a little bit more money. If I have to have them drive like over 20 miles, I'll usually do mileage reimbursement. So I would say like just taking care of the cleaners as well can get you more cleaners. And then also to find cleaners, I asked other cleaners, so hotels, my apartments, we have cleaners. I'll ask them, and more than likely, they know other cleaners, and they'll just give me their information, and then I'll just, contact them.
Yeah, it's funny. I think two different things that you just hit on there are hugely important for people, especially people that are a little bit kind of, wet around the ears on entrepreneurship and they're kind of new to this.
Mm-hmm.
It's one, not being afraid to talk about your business and to ask people that you see and to just be inquisitive and just say, whether you're being inquisitive on the front of trying to get more business or trying to get cleaners or I know Mark has told me that he's hired multiple cleaners before off the side of the road. Like, he sees people leaving a house with a mop and a broom and cleaning supplies, and he stops them and says, "Hey, you guys cleaners? Yeah, we are. Oh, I own a cleaning company. You guys looking for more work?" Like literally that simple. Just having the
Yeah.
willingness to spark up a conversation or to ask them for a referral. I mean, an entire I have hired 5 cleaners from personal referral from one cleaner that I hired. So I hired
Yeah.
a cleaner and then said, "Hey, we need more work. Do you have any other cleaner friends?" She brought me 2 more. I asked
Mm-hmm.
again. She brought me 2 more. I asked again. She brought me another one. Right. So this
Mm-hmm.
one woman has now brought me 6 cleaners, including herself, all because I'm just willing to ask and I'm just willing
Yeah.
to just, try and see. So that I think is a huge lesson for people. And then the second part of that was just treating your cleaners well. I have I got a text from one of my cleaners in my second location who really was like just very open and honest with me about something, and she's like, "Hey, this customer is really being rude and like I just don't feel super comfortable here. And, this and this, and it's dirtier than we expected." And it was like really just, telling me
And
so what's going on. And, I was like, "I really appreciate you communicating with me and all this." And she texted me and she said, "Well, of course I'm going to tell you, like, I know you're going to take care of me." And like that relationship and that trust and that sense of teamwork, you can't buy that with a salary. You can't
yeah.
buy that with experience. That is just being a good person and looking out for one another and saying like, "Hey, I have your back. If you're on my team, I have your back. I'm going to make sure you're compensated fairly. I'm going to make sure you're safe, you're protected, you're taken care of, etc." Because that is what a lot of people do want from their job. Whether they're willing to admit it as something on the forefront of their mind or not is a different question, but that's what people want. They want to feel rewarded and compensated, but they also want to feel cared for and looked after, and they want to feel incentivized to do good work and to, all of that. So I have
Yeah, because
incentives.
they need you and you kind of need them. So it's like a
Yes.
need relationship.
Yes. Yes. And you need that to be a positive need relationship of like, hey,
Hmm.
you need me, but I got you. And I need you, but
Yeah.
you got me. So we're gonna
Yeah.
be good. Not like well, you need me, so I'm gonna abuse this relationship,
Yeah.
vice versa. So yeah, I mean, if you can lay that foundation strongly, I mean, that's huge. And you're still so new to this. Like some of this is definitely innate, some of this is your learned life experiences and what you've
Hmm.
done, because some of that stuff is intangible. We can preach all day long, treat your cleaners well, do this, do that, but that is just who you are as a person that lends
Yeah.
success in that area, and why some people will always be better bosses than other people. So it's very fitting that you have found the success in the way that you're treating people and the way that people will want to work for you and they'll want to be on your team and they'll want to do good work for you because
Yeah,
they
and
want
help.
you to be successful as well. So yeah, I mean that's awesome. Now I want to kind of switch lanes here to the topic of lead generation.
Hmm.
And obviously we talked about Thumbtack. I know you mentioned Google LSA. What has lead generation been like for you? Have you been doing a lot of outbound? Has inbound been handling everything? What are your plans going forward? Are you planning to just keep doubling down on what you're already doing or add an additional stream of lead flow? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so like you said, I am new still. So
Yeah.
I'm still like learning a lot as I'm going. So far everything has been inbound. I do make calls every like Monday or every Sunday I'll like make a list and then that Monday I'll, do calls. What I've kind of realized is a lot of businesses already have contracts with other cleaners. So moving forward, I was still going to call other companies because some people don't like their cleaners, but kind of finding new builds to contact them because obviously they don't have cleaners yet or they could be looking. So I would say that, but other than that, inbound has been doing lovely, of course. But other than that, I would say just working on my like reoccurring leads, because I've been getting a lot of, onesies, because it could be, 19 this month, but next month it could be, 10, 5, 8, but it's still very good to get, that. But it also, so that's what I have to work on is kind of reaching out and doing that because I haven't been doing that. I haven't been like reaching out or sending, messages for people, hey, book again or, stuff like that. So that's one thing I could say that I'm kind of slacking on and that I kind of need to learn, more into just to get those reoccurring appointments and
Yeah.
cleans.
And you maybe have slacked a little bit on the immediate follow-up, but you're only 2 weeks post service for most of these people, maybe even 1 week for most of these people. So it's very much it's very much going to be something that gets more important as the leads get older. As
Yeah.
the leads get a month old or 6 weeks old or whatever, then retargeting, hey, is the home dirty? Are we ready for another service? Do we want to just get on a repeating schedule? You'll save money in the long run, type of attitude towards it. So I would say that's definitely the way to do it. And really, there's no substitute for good follow-up, but in your stage in your business, it's mostly about lead flow. It's mostly about getting as many customers in for that first service as possible so that you build up that review base, you build up the
Yeah,
happy
for
customers, you build up that list of phone numbers and emails that you can retarget, and you have all of that in your back pocket versus focusing too much on just the follow-up side of things when there's not going to be obviously right after the clean, you want to upsell to the recurring if possible. But beyond
hmm
that, then it definitely becomes more important to just try to increase the lead flow as much as possible. So,
yeah.
um, some other questions that I have for you that are a little bit less, related to what you've done thus far, but more so related to our viewers here. If you had one piece of advice, even though you're just brand new,
hmm
what would be your piece of advice to someone that is starting this business model with Drop Service Academy or is about to start this business model with Drop Service Academy? What would your advice be to them? And then what would your advice be to someone who is just watching this video, maybe is hearing about what drop servicing is for the first time right now? They have no idea.
Yeah.
They're like barely in the idea phase. What would
hmm
you say to those two different people?
I would say, just trust the process. It is you are investing, but like a lot of people say you have to spend money to make money. Coming in, I was like a cleaning, business, like a lot of people do it. Will my area be overcrowded? Will I even get business? Will I even make money? I've invested in multiple things. Like, am I just gonna be spilling away more investment money? But I would say it definitely trust the process. It will come, especially if you put in the work. Because I was only able to finish my process in 4 days because I stayed on top of everything. I was calling Google like, hey, is it approved? Is it reviewed? So I would say just focus on it. Even when you start, just take 3 days, not, going out to eat, not going out, not partying, not doing anything, just stay focused, get it up and running, and everything will fall in place as time goes.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I love that piece of advice because I think you are a shining example of just applying the knowledge. Like the unfortunate reality is we can put all the information in the world right in front of you, and some people will
Hmm.
still take 4 weeks to get it done. Some people
Yeah.
will still drag their feet and they'll be slow and they won't listen to what we say and they won't take direction and they only half watch half the modules and then
Yeah.
like you just came in and you said, okay, I invested money into starting this business up. I am going to listen to the subject matter experts. I'm going to consume all the content, hear what they have to say, and then just apply it right away. No point in waiting. No point in, trying to like half do it or cheat myself or cut corners. You're like, no, I'm just going to do this right because the reality is if you're paying someone to teach you how to do something, you're recognizing that they're the expert. You might as well
Yeah.
listen to what they have to say. Like, what's the point of paying and then not listening? And
Hmm.
there's countless people that whether they are paid students or whether they are not paid students, and they're people that they hit me in my DMs or they message me or they call me or whatever, and they're asking me all these questions about all this stuff and like, well, how would I do this? I'm like, I made a YouTube video on that. You didn't watch it, did you? You know,
Yeah.
I made this video. I made a guide about that, and it's posted right here, right there in the link in my bio. You can get it. You didn't watch it. We had a free webinar where we talked all about this. You didn't come to it.
Hmm.
It's like you can lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink. At the end of the day, if the person who says they want to be successful or even invests into being successful doesn't then apply the knowledge or soak it all up or really put effort in, it won't matter. And you just, like I said, you just got the knowledge, you soaked it up and you applied it and you didn't wait around and you didn't make excuses and you didn't anything. So I'm really excited
Yeah.
to see how your next 3 months looks. And obviously, we'll check back in further in the future when you've gone a little bit further down the line as
Yeah.
we're still brand new right now. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But
I
yeah,
would
I
say
definitely say just, pay attention to the modules and everything. Because literally the modules, you guys are like, do this right now because it takes a couple of weeks to get approved. And I was like, okay, let me stop watching this, do this, and then get back into it. So yeah, I say it's just paying attention and, you know, doing what you paid for.
exactly. I 100% agree. And I would add on to your advice with the advice from my experience, and it is you know, not overcomplicating things, right? Like you had an LLC already. You're like, all right, I got an LLC already. I'll pop the business up. I'll get it all started. I'll get it all filed. I'll just handle it. And you were just like, you were focused on speed and you're focused on execution and not on perfection, not on everything has to be perfectly set up
Yeah.
right. And you're just like, let's just get it going. Let's just, like
Hmm.
you said, you like booked your first clean before you were even ready to book cleans because,
Yeah, before my website was up because I'm like the website's not that, there's a lot of I've used Thumbtack before. A
Mhm.
lot of Thumbtack people don't have websites. They just book right through Thumbtack. So I'm like, I could wait for that to get done. It's not, that important. Then I was like, still waiting on open phone, but I'm like, I don't mind using my phone number at the moment for 2, 3 days while that gets picked up just and it was really just to see how the process goes so that when everything was up, I can like start transfer all my numbers over, contact those customers through that number. So yeah, it's literally easy as like making a peanut butter jelly sandwich. Like you just need the bread, the jelly, peanut butter, and all is good. Like it's not overcomplicated at all. It's something you really do. You go on Thumbtack, book a cleaning, boom. The customer does the same thing. It's really easy.
I'm gonna have my video editor clip that up for me. You said she's like, Made 20K in my first 3 weeks. It's literally as easy as making a peanut butter and jelly. I absolutely love to hear that because, like you said, you invest the money and then you invest the energy, and it's not difficult. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. You put the time in, you put the money into it to get the information that you need and get the foundation laid properly, and then you just execute. You just do what you've already paid to be taught how to do. And that's
Mm-hmm.
it. Then you know
And
where
then
to
you can
look.
literally get it back, and within like 0 days to 8 weeks, you can get your investment back just like that.
Absolutely.
And everything else after that, even what you paid for all the other apps or things that you have to get, you can literally get all of that back within 8 weeks and start a clean slate with all profit after that.
Yep. Yep. It took me 6 weeks to get all my investment back. And you'll be even quicker than that. Obviously, you still have to process these transactions and whatnot, but you'll be quicker than that. And I think people really like people are afraid to spend money because there's a lot of scams out there and there's a lot of stuff that doesn't work. I mean, you said it yourself, right? You tried a bunch of models and you invested
Hmm.
money into stuff that didn't pan out. And the reality is there is a lot of stuff out there that doesn't work. I'm happy that you found something that does work and that you've executed on it so well. And now, in the interest of time and in the interest of keeping this a nice, short, manageable episode for the viewer here, I have two final questions for you. So I have one question that I would ask you in regards to your experience with DSA, deciding to go through a mentorship group, deciding to go through DSA in particular. Um, I know you said, oh, it's as easy as making a peanut butter and jelly. That being said, are you happy that you made the decision that you did to go through a mentorship group and to get the extra instruction and to get the coaching and get all that? Or do you think you could have done it just on your own with no help?
Yeah, I definitely don't think I could have done it on my own with no help. I didn't even know what Google Business was or any of that. And you could set up like weekly call a mentor and get that help. Like I said, I've got many other courses and they'll just give you an ebook and they'll say here. But here, they make weekly calls. You could speak to an actual person. If you ask a question, mentors answer the question, and even other students who've been in it for a while answer questions. So I definitely would say it's worth the money. It's not like a tax over the head crazy or anything like that. Everything is really well spoken. You get everything laid out on a platter, and it was really helpful.
I love hearing that. Genuinely, I take a lot of pride in the quality of the content that we put out and like the way that we operate. So it's great to hear that and great to get that feedback. And I have said it a million times, I'll say it a million more times. Like, you are not buying a course when you come in through Drop Service Academy. Like,
Hmm.
you are buying damn near like a COO, like a partner.
Yeah.
You're getting the course video module education style stuff for the setup and all of that, but the community access is actually extremely valuable. Like, there's actually a lot of caring, very smart people in the community who give good feedback, give good help, actually, have a collective intelligence. Then you have the one-on-one coaching and mentorship aspect of things, not even to mention the group calls and the templates and the fact that your
Hmm.
CRM is built like this and the fact that you know exactly what to set up and how to set it all up. I mean, it's invaluable in my opinion, and I went through it as a student first.
Hmm.
So I've seen both sides of it. I've seen it as a coach, I've seen it as a student, and I don't see anything on the market that compares to it. So
Yeah, definitely not. I don't like no one gatekeeps or anything. Like if someone finds something out, they tell the whole group. So it's not like they're keeping something to themselves or anything like that. It's like literally a community.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I would say that's that's the best part of it, in my opinion.
Hmm.
It's a collective intelligence. You have the coursework, you have the mentorship, and you have 150 other people in there that actually
Yeah.
want everyone to win. Like
Hmm.
genuinely, everyone wants everyone to make a ton of money in this group, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so the last question that I do have for you would be, uh, it sounds funny to even say it because you're so brand new. And normally this is a better question for people who have been in the group for 3 months or 2 months or 6 months or whatever. But if you could go back to 21 days ago and give yourself one piece of advice, one thing where you're like, hey, do this, what would you tell yourself? And if it was do exactly what you did, then that's fine. But I'm interested to hear if there's anything else you would say.
It actually is. I would say the cleaners process, it definitely that definitely makes or breaks your business. You literally need your cleaners to make your business kind of go. So I would say, definitely interviewing more people just to get a little bit more qualified people. Um, or people that I knew really wanted to work because I do have three very good cleaners. I have one very good cleaner. The other two, I have to like book them out 2 weeks ahead of time or a week and be like, hey, make sure you're good on this day because she'll call out or she'll be like, hey, can another cleaner, take this? So that's one thing I would say I would focus more and just be the cleaners. And literally when I went to the group and looked at all of them, it was literally cleaner problems. So I even should have paid attention to that and took it more serious. But yeah, I'd say other than that, just the cleaner process. Everything else, I did what I did. Do everything, just focus on it, have a tunnel vision while you're getting everything started. But yes, for the interviewing process, I should have interviewed way more people than I did and kind of, took that process more serious. But I am working on that, especially, yeah, I am going to work on that though, taking more interviews.
Yeah, I mean, hiring is a never-ending process. With this
Hmm.
business model, there's a decent amount of churn. You're always going to have cleaners coming in and cleaners going out, and
Yeah.
cleaners that go bad or move or retire or this or that. It's always a revolving door. I mean, I hired a really good cleaner that took me a while to find for my new location. She just was like wanted to be an independent cleaner so bad, could never cut it, couldn't get her business off the ground. I hired her. She absolutely crushes it, like is fantastic. I'm like, oh my God, like this girl she's a gem. And
Hmm.
she called me up yesterday and she's like, yeah, ever since I started cleaning for you now, like so many of my friends and family and people that I know all want me to clean for them. And so I'm going to go independent and, I just don't have the time to do both. So I'm just going to do fully my own book of business. And she's like, I'm going to leave you. I really appreciate everything you've done for me and really getting my foot in the door in this. But, I'm going to go independent. And I was just like, oh, like even the great cleaners,
Yeah.
they turn over eventually. So,
Hmm.
I mean, it's just part of the business. And obviously you have that expertise and you have that understanding now that hiring is maybe the most important part of the business. And once you dial that in and get a couple more great cleaners, I mean, you're going to just be the sky's the limit because you really don't need 20 great cleaners. You need like
Mm-mm.
five and you can get
Yeah.
to 30, 40K a month with five
Hmm.
great cleaners.
Yep.
That's it. All
That's
right,
it.
Jasmine. I really appreciate your time today. I know that the viewers hopefully got a lot of good value from this. It's amazing to see the success that you've had. I'm sure it's going to be, nothing but up from here. And we will check back in with you, have you back for another interview in another couple months. I really appreciate your time. To the viewers, if you enjoyed the video, leave a comment. I will also put Jasmine's social medias if she wants them linked. If not, no big deal. In the description here. And if you want to get connected with her, get connected with me at Drop Service Academy, all the links will all be available. We appreciate your time, your viewership today. Smash that subscribe button, and we will see you in the next video.
Thank you.